What is the creepiest, most perverted thing you have ever done? One and done accounts encouraged. This thread is tamer than I thought it would be. When I was about 15, I realized I wasn't going to get a blowjob anytime soon. So I decided to take things into my own mouth. Hell, I'd already had given myself several handjobs. I was also rather curious as to what a girl feels when you splooge in her mouth. My back and my ribs were fucked for a week, and milliseconds thereafter I felt like a fucking freak. Oh, the regret. I swore never to do it again. But I was a teenager and male, so my brain instantly erased that decision. I repeated the experience at least 4 more times, each time instantly regretting it, and cursing myself for the week-long back and rib pain. In short, sucking your own dick is definitely different and feels great, but also you will instantly regret it. Also, once you're over 18, you're unlikely to still have the flexibility, which is probably a good thing, because even after you start getting real blowjobs, the thought keeps crossing your mind. I guess the lesson here is once you've sucked your own dick, life will never be the same. I've also fucked a microwave tomato. When I was still living at home as a teenager, I used my mom's laptop to jerk off to porn one night. The next morning we were sitting in the living room and she opened up her computer. I noticed that I had missed some of my product during the after-orgasm cleanup. Before I knew what was going on, my mom licked her thumb and started cleaning it off, going back several times to re-wet her finger after she had already been rubbing the spot. I still don't know what the solution to that situation would have been, but it still haunts me. One time I was over at a friend's house and had the Hershey squirts and sharted into a pair of boxers. I wasn't that fond of this particular pair, so I decided to do the responsible thing. Stuff them behind the toilet. I thought I had gotten away scot-free until a few weeks later, when I returned to the scene of the crime, my friend's mom asked me if I had left a pair of underwear the last time I slept over. I wasn't going to fall for that one. So I said, "No, don't think so. Those aren't mine." That's funny, they've got your last name sewn into the tag. When I was 18, back in 1999, I was lusting something fierce after butt sex, but I was afraid to ask my girlfriend for it because I didn't think she'd agree to it. I registered on a free sex dating site, rode my bike to a seedy motel by an expressway off-ramp, and had my wish fulfilled with this sorta hot MILF and 2 other dudes, no guy-on-guy action. We must have drilled that woman for about 45 minutes. After washing my dick in the sink, the woman and the man asked if the other guy, who was about my age, and I wanted a second go. I politely declined, rode back into the city, and went straight to the internet cafe and played EverQuest for 18 hours. While writing this, I had to go change the diapers on our twins, and I came back into the room as my current GF was reading the post I'd written up until 45 minutes. There's been a strange vibe for the last half hour. Edit, clarity about the 45-minute mark, and current girlfriend. Once during my shift as a bartender, I met a wild-looking girl who promised to give me some wild time, so we went to her apartment later that night and started to have sex. She really gave me a wild ride, but at the same time, there was something unusual in her behavior. I just couldn't put my finger on it. When she finally reached her huge climax, she started to gargle and twitch like hell for minutes before falling asleep instantly. I, of course, was satisfied for being such a big lover. Next morning, she couldn't remember much from the night. I proudly thought I had fucked her brains out before she continued that she probably had an epileptic seizure last night because of skipping her heavy medication for weeks. Suddenly, I didn't feel like Ron Jeremy anymore. When I was 16, my girlfriend and I would often go to movies and completely disregard the movie and just jerk each other off. One day, we were sitting in the back of the theater, and I asked her to give me a blowjob, and she did. Turns out, that person walking by the aisle saw my cock. Turns out that person walking by the aisle who saw my cock notified management. Turns out that person walking by the aisle who saw my cock notified management that calls the police on people having sex in the theater. Turns out having sex in a theater is a felony. When I was 15 and in the 11th grade, during study hall I managed to masturbate while pretending to read. I was in a computer lab and wearing really tight jeans and rocked back and forth till I came. Since then, whenever I wear tight jeans, it's been hard for me to cross my legs without slightly rubbing my clit and getting aroused. Sometimes I do it, knowing that it will get me aroused. I was at JFK Airport in New York City, standing in line at one of the restaurants. One of the girls ahead of me was skinny, but had a total bubble butt that just looked odd. I pulled out my Trio 650 and took a picture. I heard whispering behind me. 2 girls were looking at me disgustingly. Then they walked over to Bubble Butt Girl, a friend of theirs apparently, and told her what I'd done. I felt like a total ass and hung my head in shame when they left the restaurant, giving me more looks of disgust. The sad thing is, I really just thought it looked funny and wasn't trying to be a perv at all. This was when I still lived at home with my parents. I wasn't feeling sleepy, so I decided to go for a bicycle ride around the suburbs. Anyway, on a pretty busy road, cars would go by every few minutes. I decided to strip naked and go bike streaking. I almost got caught at that point, but not quite. I got pretty excited about it. I like being naked in public at night. I guess I'm one of those creeps who eventually show up on Fark.com for running around town jerking it. I was eventually bicycling at top speed through a nice little white picket fence, new development buck naked without even shoes on, and I came all over the place. I had to wipe it off my bike. There's nothing like biking by a $400,000 home with one light on, boner in the wind. I was jerking off one day and had a really good one loaded up. We're talking about almost an hour of edging in this session. I knew I had to finish up quick though because I had to drop off the Matrix VCDs, this was in the 90s, for a friend of mine. The cum shot was one of those cannon shots that moves so fast it seems to bend space-time. I tried looking for it after but couldn't find it, and realizing I was late I headed off to my friend's place. Right after I knocked on his door I looked down at the discs, pulled them apart, and finally saw where my love juice had gone. Rather than backing off and telling my friend I brought him the wrong discs, I just said, "Hey man, sorry about the stuff in between the discs. Guess some glue got in there." Then I walked away. Sex with my girlfriend in the MGM Grand Pool with children just a few feet away. She was sitting on my lap on the stairs of the pool. We were surrounded by people. No one noticed. Well, no one said anything at least. My fear is that somewhere on the other end of the pool was a child underwater with goggles, soaking it all in. I guess this is kind of tame by internet standards. Man, I feel tame compared to some of the shit on here. When I was like 8, I went to this water park with my dad, and there was a huge wave pool. I'd go underwater and just look at women's asses. I thought I was invisible. In retrospect, I now understand why some of the guy lifeguards were looking at me and laughing. Because it must have been extremely obvious. My dad kept getting worried about where I went. I female posted some Craigslist casual encounters ads. I met and fucked a bunch of guys I barely knew over the course of about a year. I still get horny thinking about a few of them. The very first one, I took a cab to his house and had his cock in my mouth within moments of getting in the door. God, those were fun times. I also used to masturbate in a bathroom stall at work. This was around the same period as my Craigslist encounters. Incidentally, this wasn't a fit of teenage horniness, but rather a steadily increasing 30-something horniness. Not particularly proud of this, hence a one-and-done account. I had this really asshole neighbor who lived above me for a few years. The guy would purposely do anything and everything to keep me up in the middle of the night. And when I would call the cops' management, he played innocent and talked his way out of the situation. So after one sleepless night, I had enough. After a quick shower, I waited for him to leave the apartment and followed him from a far distance. Everywhere, all day. I followed him to the mall in my car, to his girlfriend's apartment, to the store, and back home. Then I followed him out to dinner and back home. For 24 hours, I was in the weird state where nothing else mattered, and I just followed him. He moved out a week later. Oh, and I know everything about everyone I come across. I know their address, prior work info, criminal problems, anything out of the ordinary. It's a very odd habit I picked up in my younger years. Always know more about an individual than they think you know. I was about 13 and spending the night over at a female cousin's house. We were about the same age and had a fair amount in common. The most important being only children of sexually repressed parents who taught us as little as possible about sex, being nerdy enough that the opposite sex wasn't going to come knocking on our door, and of an age where we were transitioning from being curious about sex to a raging ball of hormones. Things were innocent enough when our parents went to bed. But pretty much the second they did, she broke out the idea of playing a truth, or dare variant. From me, very tame things. From her, kissing, groping, flashing. And that's not really the perverted part. The creepy perverted part is that I look back on it fairly often and want to beat the crap out of child me for being so oblivious. It just never occurred to me that I was being seduced in a very dorky and nerdy way, and I thought I was the one who was pervy for getting a thrill out of it. I'm not saying I think I should have banged my cousin, but given that it'd be almost till graduation till I'd get any real action, I really wish I'd have taken advantage of some fun while it presented itself. I suspect I'd not have been nearly so awkward with girls in high school if I'd taken that chance to experiment in an emotionally safe environment when I had the chance. So yeah, my perv is that I wish as a child I'd gotten off with my cousin. Being a creepy perv is one thing, but being a failure at creepy perving is another. A couple months ago, I discovered that a rather attractive young woman lives in the apartment across from mine. An even greater discovery was that she leaves her blinds open fairly often, which gives me a perfect view of her bedroom when she has the lights on at night. I've seen her naked numerous times. I've seen her rubbing herself down with lotion after getting out of the shower. And last week, I got to see her and her boyfriend enjoying some quality time together. Best freaking faps of my life. Our apartments are on the 4th floor, and the way the building is designed, I doubt anyone else gets to see what I do. And I'm pretty sure she thinks my apartment is empty because I rarely turn my bedroom lights on. When I was 17, I was watching porn in my bedroom and jerking off. I kept my room unlocked since it turned me on when I risked getting caught. About 3 minutes into the movie, my mom walks into the room and asks what I'm doing. Out the billions of possible answers I could have given to her, I tell her straight up I'm watching porn and jerking it. She just laughs and leaves. I still wonder to this day if she actually believed me. I once took a skull I bought online and filmed myself fucking and ejaculating on the skull. I then it in slow motion and cut it with audio and video from an elementary school play of a very cute girl I had a huge crush on singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow from Wizard of Oz. During the cum shot, I did a Ken Burns style pan and scan on our class picture and zoomed in our face and then very quickly alternated between her face and the school, and then merged them with a transparency effect and freezing on that image, and looped her last angelic note for 40 seconds minutes before ending on a picture of a corpse from a Ted Bundy crime scene. And mailed it to her on Valentine's Day with a heart-shaped sticker on the DVD that said, Class Play 96. She ended up moving across the country, ha 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 ha. Subscribe to our channel and don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss new and the coolest stories from all over Reddit in the future. See you next time!